Hey there, Daniel Levis here. Congratulations on sending for my top 10 checklist for email marketing mastery and reserving your seat at our upcoming Email Alchemy webinar training. As you can see from this ghetto style video, this is not a commercial. I'm not here to sell you anything. In fact, I want to give you more than I promised you on the previous page because I want to build a relationship with you based on trust and massive value. This video is actually about 30 minutes long and includes 27 minutes of footage from one of my $4,000 per person Email Alchemy online workshops. And I know you're busy and you hadn't planned on watching a 30-minute video, but please watch at least the first few minutes right now so that you can get the most out of the checklists and the upcoming webinar. You can make a date with yourself to watch the rest of this video later. First thing you need to know right now, though, we have emailed the checklists to you. When you leave here, I want you to please print out this document and start using it every time you write an email to send out to your list. Because I want you to get immediate value from our relationship. And you will, if you use these checklists to strengthen the persuasive power of your emails. I use it myself every day. And I know that if you just read this document before writing your next email and you act on its advice, it will start putting more money in your pocket from the moment you hit send. Second thing I'd like you to do is remember to put the upcoming Email Alchemy webinar on your calendar, and there is a time conversion link below here where you can verify the time of day wherever you happen to be in the world. And thirdly, click where it says print this page. There should be a yellow banner right up there. Click there and print this page as a reminder to come to the live training. Tape it to the fridge door or put it somewhere where it'll serve as a reminder because you want to be there live so you can ask questions and we can interact. So that's the housekeeping part of this video. And now I'm going to launch the 27-minute clip from one of my $4,000 Email Alchemy workshops. And you want to watch this closely because as I'm editing and I'm rewriting an actual email in the class, I'm using the checklists that I've sent you to create emails that get cash. Let's go.
I picked one of your emails to look at, so maybe we could just get you to give us a little background real quick on what did you write it for, what's the product, just a little backstory before we get right into it.
Okay, I just wrote this. This is just a little affiliate promotion, and I wrote an email sequence for it. The product is called Visual Impact for Women, and their whole thing is with a lot of times women are told, oh, you can't overtrain, you won't bulk up, but some of them in fact do, especially in their thigh regions. So this product, it aims to give women the Hollywood kind of Halle Berry type tone but curvy body. That's their mission.
Cool. All right. So I guess what I'll do normally, I'm going to read it so that we can all have a common sort of understanding of where to go. So subject line, get a bikini body. That was my mission. Actually, I'm going to have to move my question box around here because it is in the way. So if you ask a question and I don't see it, it's because I can't see it. All right, so get a bikini body. That was my mission. When you get the chance to honeymoon in Aruba, I'm still going to have to move stuff around. I never thought of this. Where can I put this so it's not in the way? I wonder if I can slide this. Okay, that's better. Okay. All right, get a bikini body. Now part of it's missing on the other side. All right. Get a bikini body. That was my mission. When you get the chance to honeymoon in Aruba, you can bet you want to look your best. To have great pics you can post on Facebook to make your friends and family a little jealous. You know what I mean, right? Not to mention I wanted to look like a vision in my yet-to-be-purchased wedding gown. What red-blooded woman doesn't want to look like a hottie for her honey? And between you and me, I never thought I'd get that man to propose. So I was going to make our day a memorable one. Every way single that I could. I wanted to take his breath away when he saw me coming down the aisle. But I digress. I need to tell you about the Thunder Thighs fix. I know that I've already told you about I know that I've already told you that my thighs are already bigger than I'd like. I guess this is a series, right? This isn't the first one.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I was an athlete in high school. I spent a lot of time in the weight room to build more powerful thighs for sprinting. Trouble is, it also built a lot bigger thighs than I really liked. Now, whenever I worked out hard, my thighs seemed to get big fast. I can't say how thrilled I was when I read Chapter 19 of Visual Impact. You won't believe it. In this chapter, Rusty reveals how to lose muscle mass on purpose. When women put on excess muscle, it's almost always on the hips, butt, and thighs. Most women don't have a problem with their upper body getting big from working out. But too many women have listened to trainers who advise them to lift weights to fatigue, the point they can't do any more repetitions. When you already have bigger hips and thighs than you want, why on earth would you want to make them even bigger? Rusty gives you a ninja 8-point strategy if you want to reduce the size of your lower body on page 84 of Visual Impact for Women. It really worked. In just 3 weeks, I noticed that my jeans were fitting looser in the thigh. I didn't feel like my butt was ready to blow out the seams of my jeans anymore either. Combined with my home gym workout and my meal plan, I could really notice the pounds shedding. I made a conscious decision not to weigh myself until I was 4 weeks into the program. I didn't want to get discouraged right off the bat if I hadn't shed much weight. At the end of my 4th week of Visual Impact, held my breath as I stepped on the scale. I was down 14 pounds. This was way better than I had hoped for. My thighs and butt were definitely thinner. I called my mom to celebrate. I could tell how proud she was of me over the phone. In fact, she insisted on taking me shopping for my wedding gown that weekend, even paying for it. She wondered if I'd ever get married, so she was more than thrilled to offer to buy my gown for me. Well, I wasn't expecting that at all, but bring on the shopping. Wow, I was actually looking forward to shopping after dreading it for so long. But I'll bet you're wondering if I reached my goal of dropping 20 pounds before my wedding day with Visual Impact. Truth is, I didn't make my goal. I'll tell you why next time out. Ciao. Nikki. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You know, Norma, as I was reading this, even though I think it's good, I thought it still sounded a bit too much like a normal weight loss ad, you know, which is okay, but not what's going to really grab the target audience, right? Not so they just have to know what's in the email and, of course, make you more money as a writer or as an affiliate. And since you're also one of my Email Alchemy students, you know that I want the subject line to have a lot of pop, to make it stand out more, to have plenty of curiosity and a bit more of that National Enquirer feel. And by the way, I encourage you all to carefully reread Email Alchemy Track 1 because it truly is how I think when I'm writing. It contains the more subtle nuances of my thought processes. Okay, so here's a little more about how I think, which is actually more important than the email content. It's the process of internal decision making and about, you know, what to keep and what to toss out and how to tune your persuasion radar. And by the way, Norma, I just want to say it takes guts to put your stuff out here for everybody to see and to be critiqued. So my hat's off to you for your courage. This is what it takes, though, to get better.
Well, thanks. I'm sweating bullets right now, but I'm really happy that you're doing this so I can learn from it. Okay.
You sure you want to go ahead?
Let's do it.
All right. The original subject line.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway. So the original subject line that you have is "Get a Bikini Body," and I read that, and first I let my mind go on kind of a search mission, keeping my mental search parameters focused on outrageous and also curiosity and that just barely over the edge quality. And then I think of it like, keywords in Google. So you've got, Aruba in there, and that's kind of an exotic word all by itself. You got the word honeymoon in there, has both a romantic implication and also some sexual implications. You got Facebook is good since it's on so many people's minds, right? And it brings up a mental association of pictures, right? Which you then mix with bikini, and suddenly it's packed with implications, right? Body image and impressing the opposite sex and all that stuff. So it's like I'm throwing them all in a food processor in the kitchen, which in this case is my brain, and then hitting the on button and seeing what comes out. And just a note about pictures, which we're trying to produce in our readers' minds, right? You probably heard this before, right? When it comes to pictures, the saying goes that men look at women and women look at women. In other words, you should think of your customer, trying to impress men with their bodies, but there's also a major implication of comparison to other women. And I don't know if men don't do that too, but certainly I think women do it, which is at least as important as men being, having an attractive figure for men. It's maybe even more so in a way, but other women is not as commonly considered or acknowledged, right? So as I was going over this email earlier, what came to mind, for who knows what reason, was bouncing bikini body, which would be a little more titillating, but hopefully not overly crude or offensive. And as I said in Email Alchemy, I'm always trying intentionally to walk the edge of going too far. I want to be close to stepping over the line, to really hook people's attention, but just close enough that their inner sense of what's not okay is not going to be fired off, right? I want them to be like the person at the checkout counter who doesn't want to be seen thumbing through the National Enquirer or the Sun or all these lurid tabloids, but they can't help glancing at it and being intrigued by the headlines. That's the exact spot that I'm trying to hit. And I got an inner sense of what that is. Actually, I sometimes laugh out loud, and that kind of tells me I know I've hit it. It just feels right, Anyway, then I thought it still might be a little bit offensive to women, the bouncing part. So I look for another one. I usually let them stack up on my document as I'm working on the email. So then I thought I might want to go for something a little safer, since I don't know your market, I don't know their relationship to the list owner. So I came up with Facebook bikini freakout as a potential subject line. You know how people are always freaking out on Facebook, right? Causing these little wars, and stuff like that. I like this one because it implies something with a picture, with the word bikini, without saying anything else. And it's also short, right? So it's not going to be lost by being cut off if you only see part of the subject line. And it's sensational, right, with the word freak out. So then I include the word Facebook. It's got a lot going for it, right? Plus there's alliteration, right? It has a nice ring to it. Facebook, freak out. If you look at the National Enquirer, you will not find a headline that doesn't have alliteration. You won't find it. That's what you want in your subject line too. So I'll let it sit, and I'll move on to the first line. And I might as well pull up the markup that I did for you, and we can kind of work from there. I'll put this baby away, and I'll pull that up. So here's the markup, and you can see some subject lines piling up at the top of the document. I'm going to have to manipulate this again so that I can read it. I don't know if I can get the whole thing on here. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's move on to the first line. One more thing about the subject line before we do, and I don't think I mentioned this in Email Alchemy, and that is that I'm constantly jotting down subject lines. I'm doing it all the time. I keep them in a file. I keep subject lines and words that I see and others that I think of. And I also notice all of the subject lines that are, barreling into my inbox, flooding into my inbox daily, and I'm automatically judging and evaluating them. It's happening as I read them. And sometimes I even get mad when I see really stupid subject lines being used by good writers and entrepreneurs. And I'll play with them in my head and see how they could be made better. Sharpens the mind, right? Keeps my subconscious in training. Okay, now I want to connect the subject line with the first line, obviously. So there's the thought process, right? Now also, Norma, I like how you started with something incomplete. I think you started off here. How'd you start off? You say, get a bikini body, and then you split it over here. That was my mission, right? So I like that a lot. But I'm wondering if that might confuse people if they open the email and then they forget what the subject line was, right? Assumes your reader's making the jump from the subject line and holding the thought to that first line, and that may be a weakness. Never tested it, but I think it could well be a weakness. But I like that you're using that incomplete thought, that the reader's going to have to read on to complete. So let's see how we can create the same tension without the risk of losing them. We got honeymoon, Aruba, bikini, Facebook, and later on in the email you also use the term thunder thighs, which is also a great hot button term that strikes terror and self-disgust into the hearts of many women. So our current working subject, I don't know, let's call it honeymoon bikini freak out or Facebook bikini freak out. I think one of those. So I just let them both sit there and while I work on the next part of the email. And of course I'm spelling out the whole mental process here. It actually takes place in a minute or two. Now I've come to trust that this might not be the final subject line. Maybe it's not honeymoon bikini freak out, but that's okay. I'm happy with it so far. It's like a placeholder. Lets my subconscious do what it's going to do. So I'm starting out with a little more shock value here. I couldn't think of a more disgusting image of my body than having thunder thighs on my bikini honeymoon in Aruba. It made me squirm just thinking about it. Yuck. So what I'm doing here is I'm painting the most disgusting, visceral image I can, something that would make women cringe, but also something that they can't look away from, almost like a traffic accident in process. And there's a nice contrast between thunder thighs and, bikini honeymoon. Then I offer an immediate alternative of hope. But I don't tell them what it is. It's actually what you were doing already, Norma. I'm just trying to intensify the feelings and the images to hit them even harder, right in the gut, to even exaggerate. So then what I do is offer more contrast and a promise of hope. My next line, it says, thank God you gave me the workaround. Now you say thank God he gave me the workaround for my high school thigh. So you're talking about this guy, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the guy that invented this program.
Right. Thank God he gave me the workaround for my high school thighs. And I know there's a better term for workaround, but it hasn't come to me yet. And injecting high school thighs, it creates another element of curiosity. What's she talking about, right? I would have been humiliated without page blah 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 chapter 19 of visual whatever it is, because otherwise, instead of gliding down the aisle in the church, I had visions of clomping down the aisle, boom, 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 with my inner thighs rubbing so loud everybody could hear them. I was cringing already. I felt ashamed, and the wedding was still 6 months away. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to be a vision of absolute loveliness and femininity in my soon-to-be-purchased wedding gown. And frankly, underneath it all, what red-blooded woman doesn't also want to look like a steaming hottie for their honey? I wanted to take his breath away. I wanted to turn him every which way but loose. By the way, I don't really like using a sentence like this one that you had here. You know what I mean, right? And I know you're using it to make the email, more down to earth and conversational and all that stuff, but you're already doing that. It's already conversation. The danger here is that they may not know what you mean, right? Or they're not following along with you, and you'll actually lose them with that. Okay, and I like this line here, very conversational, and between you and me, right? It pulls them into the intimacy of your thinking, sharing a secret. It's between just between us girls. And between you and me, I never thought I'd get that man to propose in the first place. So I wanted to take his breath away when he saw me coming down the aisle, Now, I clipped a couple of lines there because it just didn't have a lot of punch, and you can see how I made it more dramatic, right? And this next section is great storytelling. You really get into I'm going to call this the deepening, because it's a really good story that you got going here. Now, I'm just going to add a few, words here and there, but I digress. I need to tell you about the miraculous Thunder Thighs fix. I know I've already told you that my thighs are bigger than I would like. I'm careful about using the same word too often. That's why I crossed out that and already. You see how I just sliced them out? You don't miss them, do you?
Nope, not at all.
I was an athlete in high school. I spent a lot of time in the weight room and to build more powerful thighs for sprinting. Trouble is, I also built a lot bigger thighs than I really liked. And now, I just seem to pack it on around my thighs, even if I think about going to the gym. So I can say I can't say how thrilled I was when I read Chapter 19 of Visual Impact. You won't believe it. In this chapter, Rusty showed me the secret of how to lose muscle mass on purpose. You know, Norma, this guy better watch out, because if Sue finds out about this, she's going to crush his head between her thighs. You know that, right?
I was thinking about that very thing, that this is the direct opposite of Sue's approach.
Because when women put on excess muscle, it's almost always on the hips, butt, and thighs, which drives me crazy. By the way, you can see how now I'm adding a few caps here and there just to create a little visual formatting, right? And some change, variety in the look of it, also for emphasis. It's the opposite of what I'm trying to do, which is just what you said. And yet, most women don't have a problem with their upper body getting big from working out. Too many of us have listened to misguided trainers who advise us to lift weights to fatigue, the point they can't do any more repetitions. I used misguided here because I wanted to create just a hint more of the enemy, right? Those bad trainers who are, teaching us the wrong thing. Whereas Rusty is a good guy, the right guy. He's teaching us girls the right stuff. But when you've already got a bit of thunder in your hips and thighs, why on earth would you want to make them even bigger? There's more dramatization there, better visual. Rusty gives you an 8-point ninja strategy if you want to reduce the size of your lower body on page 84 of Visual Impact. And wow, did it ever work. In just 3 weeks, my jeans were already looser in the thighs. And you can see I'm just kind of slicing words out of there that you don't miss. And that gives extra power to the words that remain. And it didn't feel like my butt was ready to blow out the seams of my jeans anymore either. That's a great image, by the way, of my butt blowing out the seams. Great kind of powerful imagery that you want. Combined with my home gym workout and Rusty's meal plan, let's give it to him, I really noticed the pounds shedding fast. I'm assuming Rusty's meal plan, right, that you're following?
Actually, I can't remember because I did a whole bunch of weight loss things, and I took the meal plan out of one of the products and replaced it with another one, but I can't remember if it was this particular sequence or not.
Right, but you probably wouldn't mention that if you're trying to sell this. So I think we give it to him. So I made a conscious decision not to weigh myself until I was 4 weeks into the program. I couldn't bear getting discouraged right off the bat if I hadn't shed much weight. So at the end of my 4th week of Visual Impact, held my breath as I stepped on the scale, and holy smoke, I was down 14 pounds. This was way better than what I'd hoped for. I have to watch myself, spelling out the words when a contraction is the way you would say it in normal conversation. You see how I did the contraction there? That I had hoped for, that I'd hoped for. You wouldn't say, then I had hoped for. It sounds almost formal, right? If you try to read it this way, it can almost trips you up. You almost stumble over it. Then what I had hoped for, you got had hoped for, right? It's kind of a minor thing, but when you add them all up, they become significant. My thighs and butt were definitely thinner, and boy, was I feeling sexier. I had a flash of my fiancé ogling me, running his eyes over my body, but I took a breath, and I called my mom to celebrate. I could feel it coming right through the phone. Now, what could she feel coming right through the phone? The pride, Mom's pride. I could tell how proud she was of me. I could feel it coming right through the phone. In fact, she insisted on taking me shopping for my wedding gown that weekend. She even paid for it. Actually, I know it was a huge relief for her, too. She wondered if I'd ever get married at all. So she was probably more than thrilled to buy the gown for me. The whole experience was a shocker. Well, I wasn't expecting it at all, but bring on the shopping. Because now that I think about it, I'd been dreading shopping, and now I was looking forward to it. What a miracle. But I'll bet you're wondering if I reached my goal of dropping 20 pounds before my wedding with Visual Impact. The truth is, I didn't. But it was more than okay. I'll tell you why next time out. And the way you did it, the way you did this, was you ended with the curiosity, but it wasn't clear that it was more than okay. And I think it's really important that you end on a positive note, and that all of the implication about what you're selling is positive at this point, so that you're not throwing any uncertainty about the product. You're throwing uncertainty on a cliffhanger on the story, on the narrative, but you don't want to throw cold water on the product. And I think you were doing that a little bit. So in this way, it doesn't do that. So Norma, the main intention with your email was to make it, with your critique, the critique of your email was to make it have more zing, more visceral image, and to make it flow a little bit better. I think you would have done the same thing with a couple more readings, a little more editing, especially if you read it out loud, and rereading with the intention of creating more powerful imagery and using more power words and perhaps a few less superfluous words. You saw me clipping them out. But great job. I mean, I didn't really do much to it except in the beginning there.